Who is entitled to continuation coverage? There are 3 basic requirements that must be met in order for you to be entitled to elect Cobra continuation coverage. Your group health plan must be covered by Cobra. A qualifying event must occur, and you must be a qualified beneficiary for that event. Plan coverage. Cobra covers group health plans sponsored by an employer, private sector or state, local government, that employed at least 20 employees on more than 50% of its typical business days in the previous calendar year. Both full and part-time employees are counted to determine whether a plan is subject to Cobra. Each part-time employee counts as a fraction of a full-time employee, with the fraction equal to the number of hours that the part-time employee worked divided by the hours an employee must work to be considered full-time. Qualifying events. Qualifying events are events that cause an individual to lose his or her group health coverage. The type of qualifying event determines who the qualified beneficiaries are for that event and the period of time that a plan must offer continuation coverage. Cobra establishes only the minimum requirements for continuation coverage. A plan may always choose to provide longer periods of continuation coverage. The following are qualifying events for a covered employee if they cause the covered employee to lose coverage. Termination of the employee's employment for any reason other than gross misconduct, or reduction in the number of hours of employment. The following are qualifying events for the spouse and dependent child of a covered employee if they cause the spouse or dependent child to lose coverage. Termination of the covered employee's employment for any reason other than gross misconduct. Reduction in the hours worked by the covered employee. Covered employee becomes entitled to Medicare. Divorce or legal separation of the spouse from the covered employee, or death of the covered employee. In addition to the above, the following is a qualifying event for a dependent child of a covered employee if it causes the child to lose coverage. Loss of dependent child status under the plan rules. Under the Affordable Care Act, plans that offer coverage to children on their parents' plan must make the coverage available until the adult child reaches the age of 26. Qualified beneficiaries. A qualified beneficiary is an individual who was covered by a group health plan on the day before a qualifying event occurred that caused him or her to lose coverage. Only certain individuals can become qualified beneficiaries due to a qualifying event, and the type of qualifying event determines who can become a qualified beneficiary when it happens. A qualified beneficiary must be a covered employee, the employee's spouse or former spouse, or the employee's dependent child. In certain cases involving the bankruptcy of the employer sponsoring the plan, a retired employee, the retired employee's spouse, or former spouse, and the retired employee's dependent children may be qualified beneficiaries. In addition, any child born to or placed for adoption with a covered employee during a period of continuation coverage is automatically considered a qualified beneficiary. An employer's agents, independent contractors, and directors who participate in the group health plan may also be qualified beneficiaries. Your Cobra rights and responsibilities. Under Cobra, group health plans must provide covered employees and their families with certain notices explaining their Cobra rights. Plans must also have rules for how Cobra continuation coverage is offered, how qualified beneficiaries may elect continuation coverage, and when it can be terminated. The Cobra rights provided under the plan must be described in the plan's Summary Plan Description, SPD. The SPD is a written document that gives important information about the plan, including what benefits are available under the plan, the rights of participants and beneficiaries under the plan, and how the plan works. ERISA requires group health plans to give you an SPD within 90 days after you first become a participant in a plan, or within 120 days after the plan is first subject to the reporting and disclosure provisions of ERISA. In addition, if there are material changes to the plan must give you a summary of material modifications, SMM, not later than 210 days after the end of the plan year, in which the changes become effective. If the change is a material reduction in covered services or benefits, the SMM must be furnished not later than 60 days after the reduction is adopted. A participant or beneficiary covered under the plan may request a copy of the SPD and any SMMs, as well as any other plan documents, which must be provided within 30 days of a written request.